Tamang kaalaman, tungo sa malayang kaisipan. Ako po si Ferdy Isleta.
Ang kultura ay susi sa kadakilaan. Ako po si Annie Luis.
Isang oras lang ang kailangan. Ako po si Renena Peñas. At ito ang
Padayon Presents the NCCA Hour.
Sulong na!
Padayon, the NCCA Hour. Sulong na! Ako po si Arsenio Nick Lizazo, tagapangulo ng Pambansang Komisyon para sa Kultura at mga Sining. Inihahandog namin sa inyo ang Sagisag Kultura TV.
Tuklasin ang mayamang kalinangan ng lahing Filipino. Alamin ang mahahalagang pangyayari at mga kaganapang pangkultura at pangsining.
Sumama sa linggo-linggong paglalakbay tungo sa iba't ibang sulok ng Pilipinas upang hanapin ang mga bagay na tunay natin maipagmamalaki bilang bayan at bilang mamamayan.
Hangaan ang likas na galing at talento ng mga Filipinong artista at manananghal. Samahan kaming damhin at ipagdiwang ang tunay at makulay na Filipinong karanasan dito sa Sagisag Kultura TV. Pa rin sa lalawigan ng Negros Occidental, ating ipagpapatuloy ang paghahanap sa mga natatago at natatanging kayamanang pangkultura ng iba't ibang bayan. Mga pangkalinangang ambag na tunay na sumasalamin sa dangal ng mga Filipinong mamamayan.
Ang ating susunod na bayan na pupuntahan, marahil inyo nang napasyalan. Ngunit sa kabilang banda, abay marami-rami pa tayong bagay na hindi nalalaman. Siguradong marami tayong matututunan.
Kaya tara na at ating ipagpatuloy ang paglalakbay. Tuklasin natin ang Likhang Yaman ng Talisay.
Ang mga hangganan ng lungsod ng Talisay ay ang lungsod ng Bacolod at bayan ng Murcia sa timog, lungsod ng Silay sa hilaga, Guimara Strait sa kanluran at bayan ng Calatrava sa silangan. Mayroong 27 barangay. Ang lungsod ng Talisay ay sikat na sikat dahil sa kanyang pangunahing atraksyon, di lamang ng bayan, kundi pati ng buong lalawigan. Ang ruins ng ancestral house ni Don Mariano Lacson, ngunit bukod rito, maraming ipagmamalaking mga pamanang istruktura ang lungsod. Gayun din ang lungsod ng Talisay ay mayaman rin sa mga farm resort na paboritong puntahan at pahingahan ng mga dumarayong turista sa bayan.
Talisay is an old town. No? This was a farmland. It is known as Minuluan, which means an open space, a flat area. That's the original name of it. It became a town in 1805.
They called it Talisay because of the presence of so many Talisay trees growing around.
This means that it has already existed prior to that, because a town cannot be established unless it has at least 100 tribute payers. So that means it's already large. It has suffered a lot from attacks of the Muslims from Mindanao. Because of those series of attacks, the biggest of which was in 1828, that was the biggest attack, and over 100 of its inhabitants were taken hostage or to be sold for slavery in Borneo. Because of that, the town was desolated. But it remained as a town, even in name only. But it became a tributary of Silay. So in 1849, Father Fernando Cuenca, a recollect father, a very young one, he was only 25 years old, arrived here, and he found only 10 houses left here. What he did was to bring back all those that have evacuated from afar. And so the town slowly developed. But there were many others who refused to return for fear of the Muslims. And so was born later on the town's three major barrios. And one of the main factors in this development was the entry here in Negros of investors from Panay. They were mestizo Chinese investors, traders from Iloilo, who have lost the Sinamay trade. And since they have money, the sugar prices in Europe have started to increase, almost triple in price. They started investing here.
Talisay has been known for sugar since the time when Father Cuenca came to colonize Talisay. He introduced the industrialization, put up a sugar central so that it would be easy for our farmers to mill their sugar, known before as the Pueblo de Talisay.
1863, many of them came. And Father Cuenca, being the parish priest here, was able to pinpoint to them the best places. And he was proven right, because this place is not only flat, it's very fertile because of the volcano. It has a very good rainfall and plenty of sunshine. And so Talisay started to develop and became a leading producer of sugar.
Talisay is a growing metropolis, in fact, one of the fastest growing cities in this side of the country. And we are a laid-back but a fast-growing community, mainly because of our proximity to Bacolod City, the capital of Negros. But we are most proud of our people. We have a highly educated constituency, mainly because we are home to big universities. I would say our people are very resilient and hardworking people.
Saan mang bayan mga turista ay dumayo, pagpunta sa mga simbahan ay di nawawala sa plano.
Sa lungsod ng Talisay, kanilang pinipintakasi si San Nicolas de Tolentino, ngunit simbahay dinarayo rin dahil sa naiibang ritual na meron dito.
Hello everyone, we are here at the San Nicolas de Tolentino Parish. Built in the 1850, this church has two distinct features. One, from the time it has been built and up until today, still remained under the perpetual care of the Augustinian Recollect. Second, this church has one of the most beautiful mosaic, not just in the province, not just in the region, but even in the whole Philippines. All of the mosaic that you see on the walls and the paintings are actually made none other than artist Mr. Dennis Lutayo. He was encouraged and trained by Father Dexter Palagchosa to make sure that this church become one of the most beautiful church, not just in the province but in the whole Philippines as far as mosaic arts is concerned. The Artal Retabla, or the altar itself, is actually made of wood as well as the pew, so you can actually see that all of the muebles or the furnitures, fixtures inside the church are all authentic. One of the beautiful features of this church is that the wooden structures were actually preserved and integrated with the current design. So past and modern, to make sure that we understand the past to embrace the present and the future. Today, we will also feature important tombs here inside the church. One, the tomb of Father Fernando Cuenca. Second, the tomb of the General Aniceto Lacson, the Willie General that won the November 5, 1898 bloodless revolution. The tomb of Don Mariano Lacson, the owner of ruins and the brother of General Aniceto Lacson. This is the distinct feature of the church, wherein the heroes or the historians that made Talisay are actually buried inside this church.
Ritual na patapak ay San Vicente, yung papagaling ng may mga sakit. Tulad ng mga kadalasan, yung may mga arthritis, yung mga bali, sa mga bata, yung may mga ubo, sipon, sakit sa ulo. Yun, naghihimala si San Vicente Ferrer.
Patapak ritual. It all started with Father Fernando Cuenca. Because of that, it has become very iconic that we are using the saint as a patapak. And that's the Saint San Nicolas de Tolentino.
San Vicente Ferrer, ikalawang patron ng Talisay. Dahil sa mga taong pupunta dito, nagdebosyon kay San Vicente, ginawa siyang ipangalawang santo ng Talisay.
So the saint that is actually used in the actual patapak is the San Nicolas de Tolentino saint. Because Father Fernando Cuenca believed that San Nicolas is a miracle worker. And he can make a difference and heal those who are physically sick, emotionally sick. And the patapak has become every Friday gathering here at San Vicente Ferrer Chapel.
Mga pamanang istruktura sa lungsod ng Talisay ay tunay na likhang mga kayamanan. Hindi lamang dahil sa kanilang anyo at disenyo, kundi pati dahil sa mga kwento nilang tangan. Halina't ating isa-isahin kung bakit sila'y natatangi. Ating alamin mula gusali hanggang sa iba't ibang tahanan tayo'y sumilip. Pakinggan ang mga kwento sa kanila'y nakalakip.
Si Tanadikang is my great-grandmother. Her real name is Enrica Alunan, married to Eugenio Lizares. They are originally, I think, from Iloilo, though we have no accounts of the Alunans being from there, but her husband is originally from Iloilo. They got married and built the house, the Balay ni Tanadikang, in the time of their marriage, which was in 1872.
This house features bahay na bato, a typical bahay kubo. Apparently, this house is a Filipino ingenuity mixing all the cultures who had embraced us, and most of all, similar to bahay kubo, 2 floors, and the ground floor is actually called sagwan, an area where you can park your car, accept guests, and accept gifts from the farm workers. On top of that, this house is actually one of the well-preserved ancestral houses that anyone can visit here in the Philippines.
Noong 1872, style ng mga arkitekto nung araw sa Pilipinas nung panahon na yan ay nasa tinatawag nilang neoclassic era. Lahat ng elements of neoclassical architecture, trendy siguro nung time na yon. So yun ang ginamit. You can see the elements of the neoclassical styles, especially in the exterior and in the living room of the Balay ni Tanadikang. Pero nung lumalaki yung family niya, nagkakaroon ng adjustments, remodeling, at saka enlargement ng property niya.
Tanadikang was one of the crucial pillars here in Negros because the Balay ni Tanadikang during the heydays of the sugar industry became the favorite visiting area or visiting houses of not just ordinary people, but the presidents.
A constant guest dyan si President Quezon with yung mga kasama niya sa government.
Tanadikang is one of the oldest museum here in Talisay and even in the whole Negros archipelago. This mansion has 2 distinct features. One, from the time it has been built and up until today, still remained as one of the biggest houses here in the city of Talisay. Second, this house features the grandeur, the beauty of the Taliseños as they live a luxurious and very elegant life here in Talisay and in the whole Philippines. To date, this house features an Art Deco design built in the 1920s and is a home to the family of Don Simplicio Lizares. The Don Simplicio Lizares mansion is a 3-story building, and if you can see, it has a lightning arrestor at that time. It even has a torre because the torre is to make sure that the owner, using his telescope, can actually check on every member of his workforce in the hacienda. This house, not just a very big house, but rather this house, for the record, was built by Juan Nakpil, a national artist for the architecture. On top of that, Don Simplicio Lizares became one of the representatives to the Malolos Congress in 1935. This house is the home to the family of General Aniceto Lacson. For the record, this house is the first house of the Malacanang in the north, known as wherein General Aniceto Lacson sat as the very first president of the Cantonal Republic of Negros. In Spanish, Cantonal de República de Negros. This house is an open flower design and also an Art Deco. So when you enter, it showcases the designs of the stairs, the intricate designs of the staircase. General Aniceto Lacson and family decided to build an open space or the veranda, where the veranda encloses all the areas on the second floor. So if you simply want to run around the house, this is the best house that you can enjoy doing a quick run inside the house on the second floor. This house has been given by the National Historical Institute with that marker, indicating the age, the contribution in terms of heroic status. The City of Talisay, under the Guwapo nga Serbisyo, Honorable Nilo Sus Antonio Nilizares III, is currently exhausting all means to lobby, request, and most of all, arrange contribution for this restoration so that we may preserve history, continue to tell the story. We need to develop and improve this structure to make sure that we continue to preserve the past so that the current generation may be able to understand and appreciate what we have today.
Pangunahing atraksyong ito'y hindi lamang nitong bayan. Ito'y nangunguna rin sa usaping panlalawigan. Mansyon ni Don Mariano Lacson, maaaring kalansay na lamang ng bahay ang nakatayo, ngunit ganda'y hindi maitatanggi, talaga namang dinadagsa ng mga tao.
Well, the ruins is actually the remains of the burnt mansion of my great-grandfather, Mariano Lacson. He built this out of his undying love for his deceased wife. So it was built in loving memory of his wife.
Para kay Maria Braga ang bahay na to, but sad to say, hindi rin siya nakatira dito. Kasi patay na siya nung pinatayo ang mansyon. It means, pinatayo to in memory of her. Kaya nga tinawag ang place na to as the Taj Mahal of Negros. It's because of that story. Plinano ng mga Hapon na gamitin nilang headquarters or garrison ng bahay na to, pero naunahan ng mga Amerikano. Pagdating ng mga Amerikano, in-instruct sa mga Pilipino na lahat ng bahay na pwedeng magamit ng Hapon, sunugin. So ang mansyon ni Don Mariano, isa sa mga sinunog nila. Yung hindi siguro matibay ang pag-construct ng bahay na to, bumagsak na to for 3 days na umaapoy ang bahay. 3 days of burning, 3 days of fire. Imagine, 2-inch thick wooden floors, 1 meter wide, and 20.5 meters long with no joint or mula doon, papunta ron, walang dugtong na kahoy yun. All the tiles that you can see right now are still original from Spain. And they call this Machuca tiles. Pinadevelop lang to yung place last May of 2007. Then by January 2008, inopen na sa public as tourist attraction. Bago lang. 11 years pa lamang kaming open sa public, but this mansion was built in 1920.
Because of my travels to Europe, I was enticed and I knew for a fact that the beauty of the remains of this mansion would bring in a niche market and would probably spur interest in so many people here in Negros who are culturally inclined and very well educated for that matter, that they love to travel elsewhere just to see ruins or beautiful structures outside, you know. So why not boast of our very culture, our own culture here, and try it out in our island.
Original staircase going up And obviously, going down. Isa naman yan dyan. And January, makikita yung Belvedere na tinatawag nila. Please guys, itanong nyo lang sa akin kung ano yung Belvedere. Huwag yun na pa-spell sa akin. It can afford a beautiful view. So that's the place where every 5:30 in the afternoon, they gather there together just to watch the sunset. More than 1,000 ruins meron sa buong mundo. At tingat rank 12, nakaka-proud sa Pilipino na may isang nasama. And recently, already awarded or declared by the PICE or Philippines Institute of Civil Engineers as the best landmark in the Philippines. Also recognized by the UAP or United Architect of the Philippines. And last December 1 of 2016, we won an award from Choose Philippines Award as the best destination in the country and heritage sites category.
So I'm very ecstatic. I enjoy every moment seeing guests around here, knowing that I have imparted to them a part of the history of our family and the history and culture of our province.
Sa lungsod ng Talisay, turismong pangkultura ay buhay na buhay. Ngunit marami pa silang maihahandog. Iba't ibang pasyalan na magagandang tunay. Iyong listahay ihanda, isulat ang mga lugar na ating masusulyapan. Mga lugar na babanggiti sa Talisay ay huwag kalimutang puntahan.
We have very rich natural resources. Talisay has a very abundant water resource. In fact, we're being tapped to provide water to the surrounding cities and municipalities. And we still have our land is still comprised of major part of the Negros Forest Reserve. So a big part of our natural resources are a protected area. So that's untapped natural resource in the uplands, and I think that's very unique here in the Talisay. It's a combination of old and the new, and very rich and abundant natural resources.
Talisay has plenty of tourism gems, and number one of this is the ruins, the Campuestuan Highland Resort, Nature's Village, which is a green hotel, we have our Guerrero Farms, a nature park, Melbas Farm,
at mga iba pang resort katulad ng Camp Learning, JKN Fruit Farm, at Sun Valley Resort.
Magiging malikhain, likas sa mga Filipino. Sa aspektong ito ay di nalalayo ang mga Talisaynon. Halina't ating tignan mga likhang produkto nitong bayan, mga kabuhayang nagpapaunlad sa buhay at kasiningan ng mga mamamayan.
Actually, hobby ko lang to. Kasi ang hilig ko kasi pag nagbibigay ako ng mga pasalubong, mahilig ako magbili ng pasalubong na ganito. Ano kaya kung ako kagawa nito? May opportunity naman na makagawa. Yun, gumagawa ako para mamigay ko lang. Kaya lang, nagiging business dahil sa mga friends ko na sila nang nag-order tapos ibibenta. Parang yun lang ang nag-start doon. Ang ginagamit ko ng mga materials dito, mga acrylic na crystals, then may authentic din na crystals, and gumagawa din ako ng mga native, Swarovski. Ginagawa ko, depende sa order ng mga clients. Then, ginagamitan ko sila ng mga, tulad nito, ng stainless steel na mga gamit, para hindi siya nagtatarnish.
When I start my projects, upon I am retired at Hawaiian Central since 2007, then I start to do this projects because I am also an engineering. I have so many materials like mulabi wood. Then there's no any purpose. That's why I tried to make this like steam locomotive train. I do that because I work as a supervisor in the transport department. Steam or train or like saraw, I do that in actual saraw. I have measured in foot. I do that in a scale. All dimension already measured. That actual saraw make it lower.
Bago tayo magpatuloy sa ating paglalakbay, tayo'y huminto muna para mangain ng tinapay. Hindi pa pwedeng palampasin kapag ikay nasa Talisay. Bicho-bicho, okoy, at marami pang iba. Kukumpleto sa iyong karanasang tunay.
We have our local delicacy, which we call the bicho-bicho and okoy. We are really proud of those products because a lot of local tourists come to our city just to buy that kind of food.
We are here at the public market of Talisay City, and we will now feature one of the best panghimagas in Tagalog. This delicacy is made by Mang Jessie. That is why it's called Jessie's. And one of the feature is, number one, we have the puto, as well as puto bongbong and tikoy. But what I am proud to show each and every one of you, and this is none other than bitso-bitso. I'm gonna show you how it's actually made. The bitso-bitso is actually made out of sticky rice. Second, we put it into hot oil and then we fry it, and of course mix it with one of the best coconut meat. Once it's cooked to perfection, we add brown sugar, sprinkled it with none other than sesame seed. Best panghimagas, best delicacy in the city of Talisay. Now, kaunta. Let's eat. And we will now feature another one of Talisay's best delicacy, none other than ukoy. We are here with Mayan, Norma, and Jonathan to tell us how this delicious ukoy is actually made.
Ito po yung pinaka-ingredients, pinaka-main ingredients ng ukoy, ng Talisay. Una, yung kamuting kahoy. At saka ito yung ginagamit para maglidkid ng kamuting kahoy.
Pagkatapos po litkirin ay lalagyan po ng asin, bitchin, dahon sibuyas at saka harissa. Pagkatapos po, mamasahin, halu-haluin, tatapik-tapikin hanggang sa at ilulunod na po sa mantika.
Simpleng paggawa ng ukoy na dito nyo lang matitikman sa Talisay.
Namin! Fiesta para sa mga Filipino ay totoong pamamaraan ng buhay. Kaya hinding-hindi pa huhuli ang lungsod ng Talisay. Tara na't ating isa-isahin mga kasiyahang Talisay noon, mga selebrasyong inaabangan, dinarayo taon-taon.
One of the programs of the city government of Talisay is to support the cultural and heritage activities in the city. That's the reason why we put up our Pasidungog Foundation to cater to and to make cultural development of the city a priority.
The Minuluan Festival actually is in celebration of the National Culture and Arts Week during the first week of September. So it is very timely because it is also the feast day of our patron saint, San Nicolas de Tolentino. Before we had the Minuluan Festival in honor of our patron saint, but later we created a festival of our own and we called it the Minuluan Festival.
Minuluan Festival is a struggle of the local people, in fighting their independence against the sea pirates. Minulo came from the word minuro, a little community, a little municipality. And the festivity that they created out of that movements of fishing and the fight between the invaders and also because for them, one of the invaders is the Spaniards, the Catholic faith.
Malikhain at masining, mga talisay nung artistay ng niningning.
Mula sa pentura, eskultura, hanggang sa musika, Talisay sa talento'y saganang-sagana.
Actually, I started in high school. I started with making floor plans every day in UP. And then also the College of Medicine, I also did the cover of our graduation annual.
Dati iba yung ginagawa ko, yung mga about nature. So yung iniisip ko, one time, nakita ko yung mga batang naglalaro sa kalsada. So masayahin. Yan biglang pumasok sa isip ko, bakit di ko gawin yun, no? Para nagpatintero. So ganito ang ginawa ko na pinalakihan ko yung mga paa nila para okay naman. Kahit mahangin, okay lang, hindi sila bumagsak. Numpisan ko marami akong ginagawan mga sipa, patentero, mga loksong lubid, ganyan, loksong baka. So marami ako. So dyan nagumpisa. At ito na yon ang aking ginagawang trademark ko na yon. So pag nakita nila yun, alam na nila kung sinong gumawa.
How I started was I tried to copy the masters. So I would know their style and so I would know how close my painting to the masters. So I have a gauge. So when I got tired of copying, then I started on my own. I like to dabble in religious paintings, classical paintings, modern landscapes, anything that comes to mind. I also took up photography in the States, and I took up photography for my painting. So, like doing Photoshop, instead of doing Photoshop in the computer, I do my Photoshop on painting. I would research on images, then collate all of them and make a new painting.
Inisip ko, in-experiment ko lang sa paligid ko. Gumagamit ako ng mga recycled materials, indigenous. So, diyan na makita sa paligid gawin kong art. Pwede mo na gawin yung freehand. Kasi yan din ang tinuturo ko sa mga bata dito. Yung mga ma-develop ang kanilang skill. Nag-workshop din ako.
As you can see, it's all realistic painting. I have no talent whatsoever with abstract painting. I have no imagination when it comes to abstract painting. And besides, I don't know why, but it's just, I go for realistic portraiture. I do portraits also.
Ang pangarap ko siyempre maging artist ang aking ginagawa. So, bali someday o makilala ka at kung ano naman ang makontribute nyo sa mga young artist, no? So, ganyan din ako, hindi ako yung nalalaman ko, binibigay ko naman sa kanila. So, habang tumatanda ka na, siyempre mayroon namang susunod ng mga henerasyon at sila naman ang mag-develop ng ganyan lang life.
I don't sell my paintings because I don't want to be pressured by customers. Since I'm retired, painting to me gives meaning to my day. And when I'm gone, the paintings will remain and hopefully people will appreciate them.
Di sa akin ako Nagsimula ako ng yung college fine arts ako. Doon na nagsimula ang seryoso kong paglalakbay sa sining. At saka about sa trabaho ko, yung gusto ko na sa trabaho ko yung may purpose sa buhay. Saka magbigay inspirasyon sa mga bata. Saka susunod na artist. Kung sa sculpture ko, kung tingnan mong style, parang wave, may wave. Hindi base ko yan sa araw-araw ng wave ng buhay ng tao. Ngayon, nag-evolve ako sa style yung about sa painting ko, naging pop surreal kasi magra-ride din tayo sa panahon na dito tayo sa mundo. Ngayon, ang kulay, noong una, parang masyadong hindi ma-shine ng kulay. Ngayon, kung makita nyo sa painting ko, parang neon color. Kasi yung buhay ngayon, parang grabe pag-evolve ng buhay natin. Tulad din ng kulay ng buhay. Sa totoo lang, parang frustrated painters ako. Pero dami na akong sa Philippines Art Award, palagi ko dyan nananalo. Pero ako non-multimedia artist. Pero sa Manila, parang nakilala ko na sa terracotta. Kasi parang ako lang gumagawa ng ganyan kalaki ng terracotta Saka, di ko alam, basta kilala ko na sa terracotta Pero sa akin paningin ko sa sarili ko, multimedia artist. Kasi sa totoo naman, kung artist ka, dapat lahat ma-enjoy mo, magtrabaho lahat ng medium. Hindi lang na isa ka medium ang ang gamitin mo binigyan tayo ng isip ng Diyos at saka damdamin at saka talento, dapat i-enjoy natin kung ano ang araw-araw na gusto natin gawin.
Talisay Elementary School, Rondalia was established February 15, 2018. Nag-umpisa kami na 15 members, grade 4, grade 5, and then grade 6 na mga pupils ng Talisay Elementary School. The primary aims or objective of this ng Test Rondalia, gusto namin maibalik yung kultura at ang hilig ng mga bata sa Rondalia singing. Then, aside from it, we enjoy. No? Gusto lang namin marinig ang boses ng mga kabataan sa pamamagitan ng Rondalia.
So, Kababaihan Elementary School ukulele started because of a NGO that extends its help in our school every Saturdays and Sundays. It's called the Kasanag Foundation. And then this Kasanag Foundation basically brought a trainer for the school because it's an idea that maybe if the kids of our school will be taught with something that they can be busy about, they'd be more they're not gonna be absent most of the time in their classes. So that's the original purpose of this group. We are just really surprised that somehow it grew. We started only with 15 members. Now we are around at around 48 members.
Sagisag Kultura TV.
Bawat bayan, gaano man kaliit o kalaki, mayroong mahahalagang ambag pangkultura. Minsay nababaliwala, madalas na isasantabi, paminsan rin ay nalilimutan.
Ngunit ang mga ugat nito'y nananatiling buhay sa pinakadiwa ng isang bayan at bawat mamamayan. Kailangan lang muling tuklasin, patuloy na pasiglahin at tahasang paunlarin.
Bayang ating nilakbay, isang inspirasyong tunay, di lamang dahil sa karikitan ng kanyang mamamayan, kundi pati dahil sa kanilang kalinangang buhay na buhay. Ito ang Likhang Yaman ng Talisay. Ako si Lara Maige.
At ako naman po si Akihiro Blanco. Kami samahan linggo-linggo sa tuloy-tuloy na pagdiriwang sa mayamang Filipinong karanasan. Dito lang sa Sagisag Kultura TV.
Buhay Filipino, lahing matapang, lahing matalino, nalakbay ko ng mundo. Walang unos o bagyo sa aking gugupo, lahi ng matatag. Ako ay Filipino. Ako ay Filipino. Ako'y makadiyos. Ako ay Filipino. Ako'y makatao. Saan man makarating, sino mang makapiling. Aangat ang galing habang buhay Filipino. Filipino. Filipino.
Daan-daang mga isla, magkakahiwalay ngunit nagkakaisa. Tahanan ng aming lahi, mga pook na aming ninimiti.
Puno ng kasaysayan, puno ng hiwaga. Sa mga lugar na ito nakatanim ang ugat ng pagka-Pilipino. Ako ay Pilipino, ako'y makadiyos. Ako ay Pilipino, ako'y makatao. Saan man makarating, sino mang makapiling, aangat ang galing habang buhay Pilipino. Sa buhaw ng langit at dagat, mula sa pulang animoy dugo, hinalo sa dilaw na araw at bituin. Yan ang kulay ng katatagan, yan kulay ng kagitingan, buong tapang na sumisigaw. Yan ang Pilipino. Ako ay Pilipino, ako'y makadiyos. Ako ay Pilipino, ako'y makatao. Saan man makarating, sino mang makapili, aangat ang galing habang buhay Pilipino. Sabay dala ng pagkakataon o sadyang pinuot naging okasyon. Pagdiriwang ang aming kasiyahan, ipinagbubunyi ang kalayaan. Pinupuri ang katapangan.
There is much to be learned from people who have lived on this land much longer than we have. A knowledge that manifests itself not only in their relationships with nature, their songs and epics, their technology and creations, but in their very survival. Only by being aware of this heritage of the indigenous can we find not only our roots, but our direction. Their pride and ours, captured in one word, Dayaw. When you take a look at a piece of hand-woven textile, what do you see? A design, a motif, a pattern? In this day and age of machine-manufactured fabrics, there is much more than just an eye-catching design to be fascinated with. There is this whole system of knowledge that allows a woman or a man to produce his or her own threads, color these with dyes made from bark and herbs, and lay out the warp and the weft on a backstrap loom with an intended design that exists only in their mind's eyes. There is this physical strength and mental alertness of weavers who must sit long and straight as their backs provide tension for the loom. What emerges seemingly from their very bodies are textiles that are sources of Dayaw, our knowledge, our pride. In traditional societies, the craft of weaving was associated with women of knowledge, spirituality, and healing. Skilled weavers were matriarchs sought for their counsel. Their knowledge of the forest and its medicinal herbs. Their connection with the world of the spirits. Their intuition for trade. In short, the weaver was a female leader who played vital roles in family and community life. The challenges of weaving on a backstrap loom require intense concentration. long hours of uninterrupted work, mental fortitude, and yes, imagination. This loom is a common instrument used by indigenous weavers all over the archipelago and Southeast Asia. Despite the seeming simplicity of the vertical layout, it is an amazingly complex system that requires concentration and manual dexterity. The weaver must sit with her back, providing the tension that packs the warp and weft threads together. Her hands pulling at the heddle sticks that control the layout of the design. And this is just the weaving process. The production of hand-spun threads and organic dyes were equally arduous tasks that required a knowledge of agriculture, botany, and chemistry. As weaving was considered a gift of the deities in many traditional societies, the weaver also needed to be able to discern the will of the spirits who had given to the community this precious gift. The textiles produced were not only used for dress. Textiles were signifiers of prestige and social rank within the community. Taken outside, they were valued trade goods that were bartered into other communities. In rituals, special textiles were used to communicate with the spirits. In death and in birth, bodies were wrapped in specific and symbolic fabrics. The government, through the initiatives of the NCCA, has honored weavers who have embodied the best of their traditions and guaranteed their survival. Two of these recipients of the Gawad Manlilikha ng Bayan specialized in weaving of abaca textiles. The abaca fiber is an exceptionally difficult fiber to produce and to weave. The weaving of it is practiced by the groups of Highland Mindanao, the Bagobo, Tibolis, Mandaya, Subanon, and Bilaan. Salintamonon was a Giangan Bagobo woman who specialized in the dense weave with patterns from ethnic templates. Lang Dulay, a Tiboli, had mastered the production of the large-scale traditional designs of her people in all their dazzling complexity. Both women were recognized for both their technical skill as well as their artistry. Both produced their own fibers, dyed these according to their knowledge of herbs and natural materials. Both set up their own looms and laid out the threads. Both were proponents of the ikat technique of weaving. Ikat is the process of tie-dyeing specific portions of a bunch of thread so that the tied portions resist any dyes. When laid out for stringing on the loom, the raw threads look like nothing more than abstractions. But in the positive and negative portions lie the blueprint of a textile that, when finished, can only be described as complex, whole, integrated, and nothing short of amazing. Both women, after receiving their awards, continued their dual life missions to continue weaving and to pass on their knowledge to younger women of their own communities. Sadly, both Lang Dulay and Salintamonon have passed on, but their handiwork and their wisdom live on in the hands of younger weavers. Near Banawe, the weaver Angelina Bule works quietly in her home, assisted by her son and daughter. Her forte is ikat weaving, a technique that is still very much alive in highland Mindanao but was almost extinct among the Cordillera people. Until the last half of the 20th century, ikat textiles were the most highly valued by the Ifugao.
Kung naghahabi si nanay, ganito ang nisiset up ako ang gumawa ng ganito. Ako ang maghahabi. At saka yung gumawa ng design, nakaplastar sa thread, tinuruan na akong magtali.
Ifugao ikat weaving begins with a muntudun or the hand rolling of the threads. In the mumbayat stage, the threads are laid out to form the pre-warp. Then the most difficult stage, mumbubud, or tying the warp so that it can resist the dyes. The dyes used combine salt, mud, and the bark and leaves of specific trees. Red, for example, is the product of nara bark.
Pumasok sa loob yung kulay niya.
After the dyed threads have been air-dried, they are then rewarped and set up on the loom. Only when the warp and weft are precisely laid out can the process of weaving or monhabol begin. The motifs of Angelina's work incorporate the symbols that Ifugao recognize. The lizard, a totemic animal of ancient origin. The mortars and rice sheaves that signify bounty. The mountain ranges that make up their home. Her signature masterwork, though, is a reproduction of the Uwes Pinintuan, the ikat blanket first woven but no longer produced by the Isinay of Nueva Vizcaya. This blanket was traded by the Isinay into Ifugao territory and became much valued as a death shroud known as a kinutian. In Angelina's work, the motifs of a rare textile, once thought vanished, now lives again.
So, bali ito po yung pinaka-hari ng mga blankets po. Kasi ito po ginagamit po ng mayayaman lamang. Bawal pong gumamit ng mahihirap. Ito po isang recognition po para sa journey po ng isang successful man in his journey in life.
In Ilocos Sur, in the town of Kawayan, weavers, both young and old, take their own weaving traditions into the future. The spare, striped, binandera designs of the Ilocos peasants is their forte. But newer elements are being added because the market for hand-woven textiles from the Ilocos demands innovation in color, in texture, in pattern. Inabel, the term for hand-woven fabric from Ilocos, mirrors the stoic simplicity, as well as the resilience that characterize the Ilocano. The loom used is very different from the backstrap. The frame looms are large enough to sit on and are operated by the feet of the weaver, as well as by the hands. It is known as the pedal loom. Magdalena Gamayo is 91 years old. She has been weaving all her life in her hometown of Pinili, Ilocos Norte. In 2012, she was awarded the Gawad Manlilikha ng Bayan for her outstandingly fine abel weaving. The award was given in recognition of her ability to produce, dye, and weave native cotton into inabel. Sadly, she now is experiencing difficulty in getting a good supply of native cotton and must work with the commercial kind. But still, Nana Magdalena goes on weaving. The signature weave of the region is a binakol, a double-edged blanket weave. The design is characterized by an optical illusion of vibrating spheres, squares, and cruciforms. The kosikos, or whirlwind design, is a binakol variant, influenced by the neighboring tingyan of Abra. The design has been likened to op art because of the seeming vibrations and movement that echoes the volatility of the whirlwind. And to create the whirlwind, it takes the experienced eye, the quiet calm of older weavers, passing on their visions and their knowledge to their younger counterparts. Weaving as a continuation of a tradition, as a resurgence and revival of lost knowledge, as an expression of one's culture. Now, what about weaving as a viable source of income, as a cooperative effort that allows entrepreneurs and weavers to work together to create business relationships and economically stable communities? In Arevalo, Iloilo, the signature weave is called hablon. Weavers here work with entrepreneurs and financiers from within their communities to form informal cooperatives where textiles are literally the fabric on which their lives depend. Mrs. Cecilia Hison Villanueva is one such entrepreneur who empowers the weavers.
I do not know how to weave. I just manage. But I am the one making, giving them the design, the color, and what item to weave. Because I am the one attending to the customers, so I adjust to what my customers like, or what are they interested, like the barongs for men. I also make colored barongs. I supply them the materials, the loom, and I give them the design. And then once they finish, they bring it here, and I pay them by the piecework. And their pay depends on what kind of work. If it is so intricate, so they have a higher pay. It's a simple one. It depends on what kind of item I order. For me, I think weaving will not die. No. I am optimistic that it will go on. You know, I have a weaver. She died already. She told me the weaving will not stop. It will continue.
in Barangay Tamontaka in Cotabato City by Albaya Wampa of Inaul Weaving talks about the practical concerns when traditional designs must conform to modern tastes. Surely, a challenge that any weaving tradition must undergo to survive.
We usually use the traditional design, no? But nagmi-mix din kami yung yung latest trend ngayon. Usually, inaano din namin yon, ina-adapt din namin. Most of the traditional designs are the colorful one, just like this. Ito yung sinaunang namin, mga designs, no? This design is Mupak sa Langit. One of the oldest design, Maguindanao design. Yung trend na color, medyo nag-mix na siya. Favorite color for this design, maroon, green, golden yellow, and then we have the blue one. Ito yun siya, yung mixed colors, no? We started nga kako is from 1996, but then hindi pa masyado siya boom kasi we only had that time, isang loom lang kami. Old lady lang yung nag-weave sa akin. Tapos kaya inorganize ko sila way back, no? Itong mga women na usually single mothers, separated mothers, and then single ladies. Yung mga Muslim, tri-people kami in the sense that yung itong organization is composed of tri-people actually. Ang mga officers dito, being the founding president, meron kasi akong kaibigan na mga Christian, kasama sila sa set of officers itong Aljamela. Kami yung nag-ano nito.
Weaving is a very strong symbol, it's a very good symbol of the community because the way the threads intersect, the warp and the woof, no, symbolize a closely knit community. And it's the mother, it's the woman who maintains the sense of community. Why? Because the family is basically mother and child. There cannot be any stronger bond than the mother and child connection. You will note how strong a community is depending on the tightness of the weave. The more micro is the interweaving pattern, the stronger the sense of community. And the more you will find that the mother is the one that really unites, that really bonds the community.
I'd like to think of the looms as the early computers and of the weavers as the early programmers, guiding their efforts were nothing more effective than feminine intuition, shared knowledge, and imagination. Sadly, other factors like war and violence, poverty and marginalization, even apathy, are constant threats to the preservation of this ancient feminine power. And yet, these weavers endure and continue. Strong women, leaders, survivors, proud carriers of Dayaw, our knowledge, our pride.